Thank you, Danielle. It is time for the headliner presented by Miller Lite. Let's bring in Fox Sports Detroit owned Tiger baseball analyst. You know Miss Timo. I call him Craig. Craig Monroe joins us. Craig, thanks for joining us. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good, Art. Pretty good. I mean, anytime that you can smell the grass, right? And you hear the crackling of the bats, it's baseball time, and I'm doing fantastic, Art.
Well, it's great to hear. And, before we begin, I know you're down in Texas. I know the weather has been really, really bad there. People are dealing with a lot of catastrophe, so to speak. How did it impact you, and how are you feeling right now?
I didn't have hot water. Other than that, everything was fine. Thank God I didn't lose power. A lot of my friends, a lot of my family members did lose some power. They didn't have hot water. So it was a trying time. But again, just like this pandemic, we all have to get through it, and we get through it together. And that's exactly what happened here in Texas.
Well, that's good. Well, I'm hoping and praying everything is up and running and everybody is healthy, and that is good news. It would look pretty devastating, but I'm glad that Simo, you came out of it, you and your family. And okay, enough about talking about your love for Texas. Let's let's move on here. I know you have a special relationship with AJ Hinch. I remember you told us the story the last time you didn't run a ball out. You were both mud hens, and you were teammates, and he talked to you about it. Well, I talked to AJ about that story. He absolutely remembers it as well. And I'm kind of curious, and I know you're in Texas right now, but what can the Tiger fans and these Tigers expect from AJ Hinch as a manager and as a man?
Well, he's a player's manager. He was managing. I felt like even when he was in AAA with me, he was managing then. Again, you talk about putting your arm around guys and not making a scene, but getting his point across. And I think that's what Tiger fans can really hold their hats on, and they can really look forward to watching him be and listening to him be a great communicator. The players will be in the know. He understands that we're rebuilding, but at the same time, that is not the mindset or the mentality of his players. He's going to allow these guys to be themselves. He's going to allow them to have fun playing this great game, but he's going to hold everybody accountable. And that's the beauty of baseball. And I think that's what makes for a great manager, when a manager cares not only about how you perform on the field, but also about your family and also the things that go on in your life. And because he's such a great communicator, I really feel like he's going to be a sounding board. He's going to be a guy that his door will be open, and the players will feel very comfortable going into his office and having a one-on-one good conversation with him.
How do you think, does he treat everybody the same, or will he be less hard or harder on rookies or veterans, or is he just straight across the board? He treats, like I said, everyone just the same.
Well, I think I think he will treat everybody the same. But again, with that being said, you also have to treat everybody different. You got to what he's really good at is building individual relationships with his guys, and he builds some trust, and they believe in what he's telling them, and so that's what I'm really looking forward to. I like the message that he's already sent to these young players and to a lot of the veteran players. Even though we're rebuilding, we're coming to the ballpark every day to win today. I think that's the mentality that's going to allow these guys to turn this thing around a lot sooner than later.
What I like about him is that it seems that he wants everybody on the team to be versatile, like, the everyday players to play virtually all 8 positions, all field positions. And I wouldn't be surprised if he goes up to a right-handed pitcher and says, hey, why don't you try to throw left-handed next inning, and then vice versa to a lefty. I mean, did you see? I mean, versatility is great. I can't believe how much he really wants to have these guys. I think if he could have switch hitters and everybody play every position, that would be the ultimate baseball team for him.
Well, I think he loves the versatility, and the Tigers' young players, there's a lot of versatility on this roster. But at the same time, with like Willie Castro, he will be your shortstop on a day-to-day basis. There are some questions about, will Paredes play third base? Will he play second base? But the fact that he does have the capability of playing both positions, I think is very valuable to the Tigers organization. So at spring training, we're gonna find out what position is best fitted, not only for himself but to help this team win games. But then you start thinking about the outfield, and this is one of the things that he mentioned to us on a call, and he just talked about the at bats. He really wanted to focus on the outfield and the at bats that they were going to put together, the quality of at bats, the competitive at bats that he wants to see. And that's one of the reasons they went out, or the main reason they went out and grabbed Robbie Grossman. Well, you look at his career numbers and you're going to, oh, they don't stand out. You're like, wow, they don't wow you. But if you watch how he grinds out at bats, how he competes every pitch, that's the message that he wants to send to these younger players. This is how we're going to go about our business every single day, business-like and professionally. And I think that's what Robbie Grossman brings to this organization. So as far as AJ is concerned, yes, he likes the versatility, but there's going to be guys that have their positions set and that there won't be a lot of moving around. These guys here are really looking forward to starting the season.
I know Miguel Cabrera will make his debut on Wednesday, and he's going to be DH, but he's going to play first base. Do you like that move? Do you understand why AJ wants Miguel engaged in the game, just not sitting on the bench?
Oh, absolutely. It's tough to DH. It really is. It seems like you only have one job, and that's to sit there and overanalyze your swings if things are not going well. And if you watch Miguel Cabrera, and we've watched him for a long time, he's one of the game's greatest players to ever play. He has so much fun. He's so more involved in the game when he's at first base. And I think that's going to allow him to get that mindset back to where I'm not just a DH. I can play first base. He's dropped a lot of weight. He's in tremendous shape. And so I love the fact that AJ is going to give him an opportunity to play some first base a little bit, keep him engaged, keep him healthy, and keep the big fella happy. Because we all know when he's healthy and happy, we know what happens. He puts up tremendous numbers, and I'm looking forward to seeing Miggy do that in 2021.
Well, yeah, I can't wait. 3,000 hits, 500 home runs. I mean, that's those are immortal of the game numbers. I mean, if you can hit 3,000 hits and 500 home runs, I mean, you're definitely up among the greatest of all time. Craig, you mentioned Willie Castro. He's going to get every opportunity to win shortstop. You've already, and I'm going to agree with you. We've kind of anointed him as the starting shortstop. But he already has hit 2 bombs. I mean, bombs. I mean, nothing cheap about these home runs. If Castro can hold down shortstop, how does that, I guess, for lack of a better term, quicken the rebuild? I mean, if you can find a shortstop, suddenly things get a little bit easier.
Well, I think you want to be strong up the middle. And with Willie Castro taking a tremendous strides working with Alan Trammell on the defensive side of the ball, it will solidify the left side, especially that left side with Candelario putting off, a heck of a season last year, moving from third base to first base. And so he shows some versatility. So I really believe that these young players now truly understand what it takes to be a major leaguer, how to prepare every single day, and how important it is for them to play defense, catch the baseball, make the accurate throws, and not necessarily take your at-bats to the field. And I think these guys learned a valuable lesson last year, the way they played the game. But you also have to think about, or you also have to look at, some of the veteran guys that they signed, with Jonathan Scope being back. He's a leader
right.
of these young players, not only on the field, but in the clubhouse. So I think these guys are they all have seemed to be sponges and learning from these veteran players, guys like Scope, guys like Miggy. And I think Willie Castro fits that bill too. He's one of those guys that want to be better, and he puts in the work to do exactly that.
I think Tiger fans were really actually relieved once the Tigers re-signed Jonathan Scope. Another name, catching's very, very important. Romine last year really bonded with the pitching staff. Wilson Ramos comes in. He also has hit a bomb, at least one during the exhibition season here. That is, with a young pitching staff, that's really important. Ramos is obviously an upgrade offensively at the catching position. How do you think he'll mesh with the pitching staff?
Well, I think he's a veteran catcher. He understands swings. He understands how to read hitters in the batter's box. So I definitely think he's definitely going to not only help on the offensive side, but I think he's going to help these young players as well. Again, the reason he signed here, guys, he works out with Miguel Cabrera in the offseason.
Right,
Big
right.
fan of Miguel Cabrera. That's just like his brother, so to speak. And so I think that when you look at Scooble and you look at Mize and some of these younger, Matt Manning hopefully getting his opportunity this year. I mean, I think the bar is starting to get set really high, or the expectation is really high of what we expect from these young pitchers. But I also like the fact that we added some veteran pitchers. We got some competition there. There's competition in the outfield. There's competition for those starting spots. And I think with all that, I think he definitely, there's no question Wilson Ramos have his work cut out for him. But I think he's up for the challenge. A lot of good conversations with all of these new players that are excited and proud about putting that Old English D on.
Simo, I spend a lot of time imagining me being like the general manager of the Tigers or the Red Wings or the Pistons, not so much the Lions. But one player that intrigues me most is Nomar Mazara. And that's because he was such a high, I look at this as a low risk, high reward type signing. And I kind of equate it to, but people tell me I'm crazy, maybe kind of like JD Martinez, that maybe a change of scenery and he could blossom. Could he really be a find this year for the Tigers?
I believe so. I've watched him here in Texas. I've been a big fan of him. I've been a big fan of his for a long time. You got to remember, he's just 25 years old. He's already got 5 years in the big league. He's learned a lot about himself and what he's very capable of doing. And I think the change of scenery, when you change scenery and a team wants you, you could and you in that as players, everybody says, "Oh no, you want to be a part of the team." Yeah, that's important, but it's also important to feel like you're a part of the team and you're wanted and you're valued. And I think he feels that with the Tigers. And I believe he's going to be the hitter that the Rangers thought he would be, and I think he can do that in a Tigers uniform.
Boy, that would be great. I'd love to see that. JD Martinez was one of my favorite stories because he was always a fairly good player, but when he got to Detroit, I think something about Detroit, the way they embrace their athletes, I think there was a really good environment for him, and hopefully Nomar can find the same kind of environment here in Detroit and really contribute to the Tigers. I know I have to ask you about my two favorite players. I want to see them in Detroit yesterday. Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green, who I believe when 3 years from now when we're talking, I think he's the star of the team, but I'm prone to exaggeration at times. How about will we see Torkelson and Green this year in Detroit, or do I have to pull back on that?
I think you're going to have to pull back. We have to remember with this pandemic in 2020, these guys missed a full season really of competing, and it kind of maybe slowed down their development a little bit. But I definitely think the ceiling is high for these young players. I do believe that they will be difference makers in this organization. But, Art, I am going to tell you to pump the brakes. I do believe they need a little bit more seasoning, but I think we'll see those guys real soon.
Usually I don't take no for an answer or pump the brakes by anybody, but because it's you, Simo, I am pumping the brakes. You've got it.
Just a little, Art. I mean, I don't want you to, just pump. Just real small, just pump them. Just don't slam the brake down. Just pump a little bit. But I think you should be excited. I think Tiger fans should be excited about this organization and the young players that we have coming up. It's going to be a special time in Detroit, and I'm going to be there for it, and I can't wait to see it.
Well, can I go full out on Casey Mize and Tarek Skubal? Can you give me that much, Craig?
I'm going to give you that. I believe that these two guys mixed the rotation this year, and I believe they've learned a lot from their mistakes last year. When you think about Mize, location has been the key to his success throughout his college career, and I believe it's going to continue at the major league level. He said he's made some adjustment in keeping the baseball down, pitching ahead in the count. That's going to pay huge dividends for him in 2021. And Skubal, I thought Skubal handled himself extremely well, getting the taste last year. The way he commanded that fastball, moving the ball to both sides of the plate, elevating some pitches, getting swings and misses. And I love the way he stays on the attack. So do not pump the brakes on these two guys. We should be excited because I think we have two studs in that rotation.
Well, Craig Monroe, unfortunately, we are out of time. I'm looking forward to your, you analyzing the Tigers all season long on Fox Sports Detroit or Bally Sports Detroit. I think it'll be by the time maybe baseball season starts. But it's always a pleasure. We have to have you on very, very soon. I really enjoyed just your company on and off the field. Best of luck, and thanks for joining us today on The Headliner, Craig. Really appreciate it.
All right. I'll see you guys at the end of the month.
All right, sounds good. That'll do it for this edition of The Headliner, presented by Miller Lite. Miller Lite, it is the original light beer. It's only 96 calories. It tastes great. It's delicious, and it's also available for delivery. Daniela, back to you.